Good morning. Welcome to Food for Thought Friday. Because someone said I should have a stirring commentary on something controversial regularly. Well, I don't think so. There isn't that much really controversial in the music industry. Wait, is there? I don't know. But first of all, to the very few who've made it now to video number 4, which has to be made, I want to thank all of you for commenting, for putting your heads together and thinking about this issue, discussing it, even, you know, rudely sometimes, and throwing shit at me, which, hey, I'm just bringing up stuff. Why do I do that? What's the benefit to me? Well, technically none. But since I've been doing this channel with the pedals and some amps and guitars now and stuff, I've made friends. First in China, and of course that's an issue, you know, cloning and all this, which we'll get to. But I've made friends, you know, with amp manufacturers and other manufacturers. I mean, people that sit there with, you know, by themselves, or 2 or 3 people trying to bring you great products. And I've gotten to know them, and I've gotten to know the issues that they're facing in the industry. So let's talk about those. And more comments coming in. So obviously I've had quite a few sleepless nights, as had some of the amp manufacturers who have used your comments, which is great, an open debate, which have used your comments to straighten up their thinking. Because as of video 1, I was saying, it's intellectual property theft, don't buy a Kemper. Well, if you have made it to video 2 and 3, you've seen that I've changed my tune. And so have the app manufacturers, because actually I think that in the beginning, some of them, or the ones I've talked to, weren't 100% clear what the real issue is. They thought it's an issue of property theft. They thought it's an issue of, this is my intellectual property in the circuit board, and therefore I am entitled to payments when someone is using my profile. But as Michael Wagner and some others have pointed out, well, a sound cannot be intellectual property because obviously we'd be opening up... excuse me. We'd be opening up a whole can of worms. Pandora's box. Impossible. Obviously, if I record an album with an amp, can the amp manufacturer come and say, well, that's my sound, pay me? Can the tube guy come, that's my tubes in that amp, pay me? If you make a profile, can someone say, well, but Sennheiser's mic has been used, or Shure has been used, Shure needs to get... Not the issue. Let me sit back here a little bit. I actually think, based on what I've talked to with some manufacturers now, yeah, I've done a lot this week. I was on the phone, trust me, and I wrote a billion comments and emails. It is an issue of branding. And that, my friends, I think is the real issue. Unless, through the comments, we come to a different issue. But let's talk about branding. Now, why does the Kemper or other products similar to it sell? Because you think the box is sexy? No. Sound, we are not going there at all. We're not talking about sound. We're not talking about how the sound is created in the Kemper, how it has been profiled. We're not talking about any of this. We're talking about the idea that you can have a Sir Badger at the same time as having a Soldano, at the same time as having a Dietzel, as having a, well, to a lesser extent, Joyo, and a whatever I have here and whatever you desire. We desire these things. Okay. You might not be able to afford them. Fine. Trust me. That one I paid in full, the Sir. This one I bought for 560 bucks on eBay. So yeah, no, I didn't spend over 2,000 bucks. This one I bought on eBay for 1,500. So yeah, I, through the years, collected some stuff. I'm not a rich man. Got some lucky eBay stuff. So, we desire these. I like saying I have a Soldano hot rod. When in fact, this little puppy up here The Blackheart Killer Ant made in China, it's 1 watt, 1 knob, costs 120 bucks. In reality, that with a tube screamer, when you're looking for that lead sound, is exactly that. I'm not shitting you, I can get exactly that lead sound with a little bit more definition on the pick attack. So, why do I keep this? Why do I like saying I have a Soldano? Because I am, like many of you, I'm a brand guy. We like brands. I fully admit that. I like when I open up my laptop and that little Apple logo comes on. That's a sexy thing. Okay? Yeah, think about me what you will, but we all are in some way brand fetishists. Whether it's the Nikes or whatever. Especially when it comes to guitar brands. Come on, we all love the Gibsons. Well, I don't, but maybe you do. And we do it because of the name. We do it because of what Gibson has established through a long career of guitar building. The people that have played Gibson, huge impact on why you want one. The rock and roll persona, the rock and roll image that Gibson has. Is it the actual guitar that you're interested in because it's so mega awesome? Excuse me, everyone knows that for the same money you can buy a better guitar, but not a Gibson. So the brand is extremely important. Soldano stands for something. Diesel, what am I saying? Diesel that is the new metal sound that has defined the new Metallica and Slipknot and Korn and so many others. In addition to being more diverse than that, Bogner is the emperor class of niceness and flexibility and craftsmanship. They have established brands through investing in endorsers, investing in advertising, investing in nowadays YouTubers, investing in years and years and years of building their profile, building their brand, and making the name stand for something. By the way, names that are trademarked, just like Marshall and Fender, okay? Names that you cannot just throw around willy-nilly. Now what Kemper does, and they do. Please, Mr. Kemper, correct me if I'm wrong about this. I will immediately issue a retraction and a different statement. But when you type in Diesel VH4, you know where you land on Google? Very high up. The Kemper website. Now, why can Kemper and others, excuse me if I always say that, why can profiling companies advertise with brands that they don't own? Why they have to, I can tell you. Because if they said, we have a good amp, it's brand new, it's digital, it mounts into 2 rack spaces, or 3, or whatever, Axe effects, it sounds really awesome. You're gonna go like, yeah, I don't like digital, it's whatever, not my thing. We have a good amp, mounts into 2 rack spaces, sounds like a Soldano. Whoa, Soldano's awesome! Because the brand has been established, but not by those digital manufacturers. The brands have been established for loads of money and time and sweat and hardship over many years by the amp manufacturers. And what you want is not the digital box. What you want is not saying, I play a Kemper. No, you want to say, I play the VH4 profile in the Kemper. Or have you checked out my new Bogner Helios profile in the Kemper? You like the brand. Now let me pose this question to Kemper users and to general Kemper or profiling amp enthusiasts or people that might be interested in them. What if we had to strip just because it would be good form and good morale and ethics? What if we had to strip the brand names from every single profile? So no profile could be called Diesel, Marshall, Soldano, whatever. It would be called Classic Rock 5, British Extravaganza 7, Drop D Mayhem, Modern Metal Awesomeness. And what if those were exactly the same sounds, exactly the same awesome sounds, but you didn't know what amp they come from? They're just good sounds. Not debating that, okay? They're just great, usable sounds. And what if you couldn't know from the guy who profiled it what it was? There was no way. There was no mentioning this profile pack has been created with. What if there's no pictures? Because even if Kemper claims, well, our profiles are not called whatever the amp is called, The very first session I saw when the Kemper was just released was Peter Fischer in the studio profiling his custom audio electronics and his Bogner, and they were making a big fuss about these really awesome amps that they were profiling. So there is a trail. You know what is behind those profiles. So let's erase everything. And let's assume you didn't know what's behind it. Okay? As Michael Wagner said, Michael Wagner sells profiles because people like his profiles. So if Michael Wagner's profiles are so good, I don't know. Sorry, Michael, I have no idea. I don't have a Kemper. And he just called them awesome British sound. Maybe he does that. I really don't know, okay? And people like his sounds because they're good sounds. Well, isn't that enough? That should be enough. I will guarantee you it is not. I will guarantee you the Kemper would not have sold as well if it was not right. I'm not saying illegal. If it was not right to mention what amp has been profiled. So you can profile any amp with any cap, with anything you want, but you're not allowed to name it. It just sounds really good. And you would never know what's behind it. You might actually be playing a 200 euro Chinese amp, and you think it's like the best, biggest metal sound in the world, and would you care if you didn't know? You know what? I would care. We all would care. I'm speaking for you now. I think we would care because we are brand fetishists. We like to know that we have something high-end for little. We like to know what brand we play. We like to brag with it. Come the fuck on. So, I'm thinking that is the main issue. These manufacturers are advertising with other people's brands. Kemper got big really fast because he could say, my thing can sound like a Diesel, like a whatever. The profiling guys, excuse me guys, you sell profiles for $7, $8, whatever. Go on to the Kemper forum and check, you know, Kemper openly encourages, that's the word, openly encourages sharing profiles for money or for free. He's doing a Napster kind of share your stuff, which would be fine if it was nameless, brandless. But people openly advertise saying, here's my new Diesel VH4 profile, buy it for $8. I always say Diesel VH4 because it's an expensive amp. Bogner Helios, Bogner Ecstasy, Bogner, whatever, okay? And, or as I've just learned, Little Walter, for example. Hi, Little Walter. Great amps. 2 knobs, hella expensive, but apparently the shit when it comes to, you know, boutique amps. So check out Little Walter. Not on your Kemper. So that is, I think, the kicker. Using the work that these companies have put into branding, and using that name to sell your stuff. Because without that name, you wouldn't sell it. That's my prediction. Now, I've talked to a very nice guy yesterday, Guillaume P, from Two Notes. Now, Two Notes is doing the same thing, aren't they? And I'm going to get Two Notes stuff here, and I'm going to use it. And am I not a total hypocrite? Well, no. For several reasons, and let me illustrate. Guillaume approached the cab manufacturers because it's about cab cloning, cab clone. I'm sorry, there's more stuff about Mesa coming. We're good now, seriously, we're good. Gary, we're good. Sorry, that was funny. It was another story that we're going to talk about. So cab cloning, cab profiling. Issue number 1 when it comes to branding, which probably shouldn't be an issue, but advertising that now you can have the Diesel cab in your new Torpedo cab profiler. It's not going to sell any torpedoes because cabs are not very interesting to us. Yes, we need them. Yes, they sound good. Yes, there are differences. But primarily you buy the Diesel cab. Sorry, Peter. Sorry. Because you have a Diesel amp and it just looks good. Okay? I know they're good. I'm not saying they're not good. This guy puts a lot of work into these cabs. Yes, they're good. But primarily the idea is I want the cab to match. I mean, I bought a 600 fucking euro 112 for my Soy Badger. Why? Well, because it matches. I know it's ridiculous, but I did that. It's also a good cab, but still, 600 bucks for a 112, come the fuck on. But I liked that they matched. The sound, whatever. So, Two Notes profiling cabs is not as much trying to sell with brand names, because really people wouldn't buy it for that. People buy it much more for the convenience. I think the camp is a different issue. Amps are a different issue. Also, Guillaume is super nice, and he writes to the company saying, that's what I'm doing, that's what I want to do. Are you okay if I put your cab profile into my amp? Awesome. Into my, not amp, into my box. The other thing is, as he pointed out, which is very clever, I think it's a small distinction, but anyway, the Kemper is an amp. So it's replacing your Soldano, and it does what an amp does. With a power amp in it, it does what the amp does. The Two Note is not a cab. It profiles a cab. In the studio, it has the same function, but it doesn't actually move sound. You cannot use it on stage to blast sound at you. So he made that distinction, which is a technical distinction, but not really an ethical. I think we shouldn't consider that. But anyway, he approaches people. He talked to Dietzel when he wanted to work with them. He's involved with the manufacturers. I've heard from an amp manufacturer, actually. And I'm just sharing all this stuff with you, and if it gets long, whatever, just don't watch it. One amp manufacturer, I don't know if I should mention who, wrote me, hey, I've worked with Axe Effects, and were very interested in putting my amp designs into the Axe Effects 2 Ultra, whatever. And I'm very happy because people noticed my company more, and I've actually sold more amps. So that's a valid point, but that means the company approached them, they worked together, and now it's in the judgment of the amp manufacturer whether they want to do that or not. With open profiling, it's left to anyone to do it and, you know, infringe on people's branding property. And apparently that company was also approached by Kemper, and Kemper asked if they can put profiles in the Kemper. Other companies have not been asked. So I want to know what's going on at Kemper, why some companies get approached, and if they say no, which that company did, the profiles didn't appear. So they were given a choice. Other companies are not given a choice. So I'd like to know what the deal with that is. Let's talk about when it comes to branding. Sorry, my nose bleeding. I'm wiping it on my pants. It's not the nice way to do it. Cloning. China stuff. The issue of branding, we could say, is one of none, because obviously when Joyo, and let's take Joyo because I'm directly involved with them, when Joyo clones a pedal, looks at the specs of the original one, tries to make it cheaper with cheaper parts, sell it for dirt cheap to you, they're not saying this is a Wampler. Which I don't think they've ever done, but let's take Wampler. They're not saying this is exactly like a Wampler 4-tape echo. They're not writing Wampler on it. They're not stating it. Every time they try to hint at what it is, I'm telling them, please, let's not make the name hint at what it is. Let's let it stand on its own 4 little rubber feet and let people decide whether the sound is good. I'm trying that. I'm trying as much as possible, first of all, for them to develop new designs, which they have good engineers that can do this now. We're working with engineers from all over the world now. So I'm trying to make them not clone things, but also I'm trying to make them name things so they do not hint in any way at what the original thing is. Not even a Tube Screamer. Not even making the Tube Screamer clone green, which many companies do. So that's my goal. Of course, when you look at the Bugera doesn't say what it is. The name might hint at it. The design might hint at it. And of course, you can say, wow, that's an established brand design for a rectifier, for a PV. I think they have something that is like the PV XXX or something similar to that. And we could say, well, these clones hint at the brand. They're not actually using the brand name. And that might be a small distinction, but it is yet again a distinction. In a profiler, they're saying directly, play the VH4. It has been profiled from a VH4. Why do I always say VH4? Helios, whatever. Maybe I'm trying to brand the VH4 as something very good. I don't know. So, I actually think that companies wouldn't have a big problem if Chinese companies were stealing or cloning their products if we removed any trace of what actually has been cloned. Because then the I want to have it factor, because it is like a diesel VH4, is gone. No one would care. If the Bugera doesn't hint at what it's trying to be for a cheaper price, you wouldn't be interested in it as much. If you don't know that the Joyo Vintage Overdrive is actually a very cheap tube screamer, and it's just a green pedal that sounds good, would you care as much? Because in your head you might not believe, oh, now I have a tube screamer for cheap. You might still actually go and buy the tube screamer to be sure that you have a tube screamer. Unless you use your ears. So Kemper users that use their ears and don't care about the brand and just say, hey, sounds great. Kudos to you, no problem. Most of us wouldn't. Most of us want to be told by some idiot like me, yes, it sounds like that, buy that. Most of us want to be told, this brand is good, buy it. And we don't use our ears. I think if we all used our ears, maybe these issues wouldn't be there. So yeah, Chinese cloning is different when it comes to branding. It's a matter of degree. The Torpedo is different because really, cabs, who gives a flying fuck? Sorry. And also they are open about it. They approach the manufacturers. But the profiling on the Kemper, because of the rampant, everyone trades it around with the names attached, is a problem. Now I want to know what you think about this. I want to know what you think about protecting the brands that have been established. And please remember, these are not corporations with hundreds of people. Little Walter is a guy. The guy from Scott Phillips, I think his name, from Mahalo. That's a guy who poured his life savings into a small company. You know, a lot of small manufacturers wrote to me and said, thank you. Thank you for being our voice. What do I know? Just some German guy with no significance ranting about stuff on a Friday. If you think that's, if you take me seriously enough to bitch at me and insult me, fine. Why do I care? Well, I mean, why should you care about what I have to say? I have no influence on the industry. I love the fact that what you guys write because of my ranting makes people think, makes manufacturers think, gives them a perspective of what they can sell to you, and maybe some just pack up and say, hey, I'm gonna go to the steel mill now because I can actually feed my family. I would really love to hear what Chris Kemper has to say, or maybe someone that he sends, maybe some media guy. I have coffee for them. I have no ill will, no bad feelings about this. Just, it would be cool to have a discussion with them. Come here, let's, you know, let's have coffee. He sits in front of his thing, I sit in front of some amps. How cool would it be if we invite some manufacturers too? And just have a discussion, a calm discussion about the situation of branding and trademarks. And, well, maybe not. Maybe this is enough. I'm gonna have breakfast now. Sorry this turned out so long again, but you know what? You don't have to watch it. I'm gonna make more videos now about pedals and have some fun. And I'm gonna think about a new topic to talk about with coffee on my next Food for Thought Friday. I don't know. Mario from Face Distribution said, hey, this is really cool, you should discuss topics. I don't know. Maybe boobies, how big should they be? I don't know. We'll talk to you guys.